What's up, YouTube? It's Onion Bomb here, and welcome to my Week 17 NFL game predictions. This is the final week of the 2017 NFL regular season, so this is my final regular season predictions. Of course, I will be doing predictions for the playoffs, but those are going to be a little bit different than my regular season predictions. So yeah, until next season, this is going to be the last video like this, which is pretty crazy. So let's just get on with it. And before we move on to the Week 17 predictions, let's take a look back on how I did Week 16. As you guys can see, I did amazing. This is the best I've done all year. I went 14-2, getting, of course, 14 predictions right and only 2 wrong. And I feel like the 2 I got wrong are kind of justified, as we'll take a look here in a second. But yeah, that brings the overall to 138 correct and 87 wrong. So unless I get 13 predictions wrong this week, I'm not going to get a total of 100 guesses wrong. But keep in mind, I did miss week 1. I started this on week 2 because I didn't really plan on doing NFL predictions. I just kind of I was like, hey, why don't I do these? I was like, yeah, why don't I? So I started doing them by week 2. It was week 2. I missed week 1, so oh well. But yeah, let's take a look at the games of week 16. The Ravens beat the Colts. I got that right. The Vikings blew out the Packers. I got that right. The Rams beat the Titans. Not that the game is actually not that heavily. It was pretty close for like the Rams and the Titans at 27-23. I still got that right though. The Patriots beat the Bills. I got that right. There's another catch in there that should have been a catch, even though that probably wouldn't win the game for the Bills. It's still it's still the Patriots, and a team got cheated. So yeah, this is getting a little too suspicious now. I don't care what anyone says. Anyway, the Bears beat the Browns. I got that right. Yeah, Browns. That was like the one game, like one of the games they could have won and they didn't. So yeah, and they lost pretty bad too, 20-3. The Saints beat the Falcons. I got that right. The Bengals beat the Lions. I got that wrong. That was kind of surprising. The Panthers beat the Buccaneers. I got that right. The Chiefs beat the Dolphins. I got that right. The Redskins beat the Broncos. I got that right. The Chargers beat the Jets. I got that right. The 49ers beat the Jaguars. I got that wrong. Now, what that tells me is the 49ers are going to be a playoff team next year. Because if Jimmy Garoppolo can do that with the team they have now, and they're going to add high draft picks of drafted players into that team, they're going to be elite next year. The 49ers are a team to watch out for. Definitely. The Seahawks beat the Cowboys. I got that right. The Cardinals blew out the Giants. I got that right. The Steelers crushed the Texans. Finally didn't play down to an opponent that was weakened by injury. I got that right. That was happy. As a Steelers fan, I was happy to watch that game. And the Eagles beat the Raiders. Not by that much, but I did get that right. So yeah, that adds up to 14-2, and that was the best record I ever did this year. Previously, it was 12-4, but now I went 14-2, and it's probably going to be the best I do all year, because I'm probably not going to go 15-1 or 16-0 this week, because I have a lot to take into account for. I need to take into account for who's benching their starters, who still has something to play for in the playoffs, who's done with the season. So I have things to look at a little bit extra, so it's gonna be a little bit hard guessing this week, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, let's get into my predictions for the final week 17. Alright, so let's get started. These are all Sunday games. There's no Thursday night football. There's no Monday Night Football. There's no even like Saturday games. They're all Sunday. There's not even Sunday Night Football. It's all 1 o'clock games, and then there's games in like 4 o'clock, 4:25. So yeah, let's get into it, guys. With the first game, the Packers and the Lions. I'm going with the Lions. Both of these teams are all out of the playoffs. There's no chance. Aaron Rodgers isn't playing for the Packers, so the Lions, I think, are going to win that because the Packers are pretty much like Aaron Rodgers, and without that, they're just not that good. The Lions surprisingly lost to the Bengals. So I think that doesn't matter. They will bounce back, and they will win this game against the Packers because I just don't think Brett Hundley can get this win. So, yeah. I don't think there's going to be any starters benched here because they're both playing for nothing, and they don't have to rest for anything because neither teams are in the playoffs. Next up, the Bears and the Vikings. The Vikings, of course, have already clinched the playoffs, so they probably will bench their starters. Let's go with the Bears then. I think the Bears are gonna win this one. It depends who the Vikings bench. If the Vikings were smart, I'm pretty sure they clinched. They already clinched the playoffs and their division. I'm not sure, like seeding position. I don't think they can do any better with a win here. So they should. It depends how Teddy Bridgewater does, because they're most likely gonna start him and keep Case Keenum in and bench Case Keenum, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bears here just because they should beat the Vikings back. Alright, next up, Texans and the Colts. This game, both teams were hit by injury very hard. More so the Texans than the Colts. I'm gonna go with the Texans. Both teams, of course, are far from the playoffs. I'm going to just say the Texans are winning this one just because, I don't know. I feel like, well, the Texans are in an interesting quarterback situation where they're, like, starting their third and fourth string. However, they have, even without, like, their injuries, they have done something, even though they played like garbage against the Steelers. I feel like they can get it done against their division rival, the Colts. So, I don't know. They still got good players up, like Javion Clowney, but they have been hit very hard with injury. And they still got Hopkins, and, Blue was doing pretty good against the Steelers. Who actually knows who that was? Just, it couldn't be Lamar Miller. They're lucky I still won my fantasy game because I was mad some guy named Blue was running over the Steelers and it wasn't Lamar Miller, and because if Lamar Miller was running over the Steelers, at least I benefited from it, but I didn't benefit from Blue, and I was just tight. So yeah, I think the Texans are gonna pull out a win here. Alright, next up, the Browns and the Steelers. And of course, the Steelers, they're going to bench their starters. They've clinched the playoffs. They clinched their division. They've clinched the number 2 seed. Should have been number 1. Jesse James caught that ball. But yeah, anyway. I'm going with the Steelers. It was a very close game last year. Same scenario. The bad Browns team against the Steelers backups. Went into overtime. But why am I taking the Steelers again? I don't know. The Browns could definitely win this. Browns are going to be at full force. Not that matters. But I think the Steelers get it done again. I want to see Josh Dobbs against Deshaun Kaiser. I want to see that. That's going to be cool. I don't know. I believe in the Steelers backups to get done against the Browns once again. Alright. Next up, the Jets and the Patriots. I got the Patriots. Patriots clinch playoffs, first seed. They might bench starters. I don't know. It's the Jets. They're going to win somehow. There's gonna be another catch. They're gonna win. The Jets aren't gonna beat the Patriots, even though they almost did. But the refs pushed up to it. You can't beat the Patriots. The Patriots will win this one because the refs won't let you beat the Patriots. All right, next up, Redskins and Giants. I'm taking the Redskins. Both teams out of the playoffs. Redskins are actually decent, mediocre. Giants, of course, had a lot of injuries this year, and they pretty much sucked. They're pretty much playing for nothing, but I feel like the Redskins are gonna win this because they're gonna have better players. No one's benching anybody. It's just who's injured and who's not. All right, next up, the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Cowboys just recently got kicked out of the playoff picture, and are no longer in the hunt. The Eagles, they should bench everybody that's even remotely good because they've clinched everything. They clinched home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They clinched their division, first round bye. They clinched everything they can. So they should bench everyone. The Cowboys shouldn't because, they're just playing their last game like they should. And the Cowboys are going to win. I'm taking the Cowboys for this one because, like I said, the Eagles, they have nothing left to gain. They have nothing to lose. A win here doesn't mean anything. A loss here doesn't mean anything unless it's just like a pride thing against their record, which I know the professionals aren't like that. So they're gonna bench people. The Cowboys aren't. The Cowboys are gonna have their players, and the Cowboys are gonna win. Much like last year, but in reverse. The Eagles had their starters. The Cowboys benched their players because they clinched everything, and the Eagles won. Actually, I just thought about that. It's like the exact same game, only in reverse. That's weird. Alright, next up, Jaguars and Titans. I'm going with the Titans because the Titans still have a wild card to play for. The Jaguars have clinched the division and the third seed, and this win doesn't mean anything for them because they lost and the Steelers won, and they're even farther away from the Patriots. So they're too far away to get to the number 1 or 2 seed, and they're too high up to fall down to the 4th seed. So yeah, they're gonna bench people. The Titans still are playing for something, so the Titans are gonna win this one, pretty much because they have something to fight for. Alright, next up, the Bills and the Dolphins. I have the Bills. Both teams should be playing their starters, but the Dolphins are out of the picture completely. The Bills are playing for a wild card, so they should play like they've never played before, and they should win this if the Bills really tried. The Bills had something earlier this year. It kind of crumbled. It kind of fell. It kind of got built back up, but then it fell back down again. And the Bills have been weird this season, but I feel like they could get a wild card. So they're gonna win this because the Dolphins have nothing to play for, but the Bills do. Alright, next up is a very interesting game. It's the Bengals and the Ravens. Now, the Ravens have a wild card to play for. The Bengals don't. I don't want the Ravens to win this one. But both teams should be playing their starters. This happened last year, although no one had anything to play for, and Cincinnati won this game. This was a very hard one to pick because I can't tell if me wanting the Bengals to win is wishful thinking for the Ravens to get knocked out. And it does make sense for the Ravens to win because they have something to play for. But the Bengals are still going to be playing because, just play to play. I'm taking the Bengals. I know that sounds weird. They play each other close. I feel like the Bengals can get it done and, make Steeler fans happy, get the Ravens out of here. Maybe it's biased, maybe it's my wishful thinking. I actually wanted to take the Ravens, but I changed it, because I don't know. I feel like I feel like the Ravens are going to get kicked out of the playoffs. I hope they do. This is probably my wishful thinking. But if it happens, then I get a prediction right. So let's take the Bengals. Alright, next up, the Raiders and the Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers. The Chargers are the fourth and final AFC team in the hunt. The Raiders are out of it completely. And they were projected earlier this season to go to the AFC Championship. So, how'd that turn out? So yeah, I think the Chargers will win it just because they have more to play for than the Raiders do. I think they'll be playing harder and playing to win, not necessarily getting a wild card, but at least trying and doing everything in their power that they can do. So, the Chargers will win. Alright, next up, the Cardinals and the Seahawks. I'm taking the Seahawks. The Seahawks are in the hunt for a wild card spot in the playoffs. They could overtake the Falcons, or they could not. The Cardinals, regardless of the playoffs, the Seahawks are gonna win this game either way, just because they're just a better team, even like with starters and everything, with both of them having something to play for. The Seahawks are just a better team than the Cardinals, so the Seahawks will win this. Yeah, the Seahawks will win this I think heavily, because the Cardinals, they did just blow out a team, but it was the Giants. So yeah, I think the Seahawks will win this. Alright, next up, the 49ers and the Rams. The Rams clinched the playoffs, and they clinched all the way through. So I think they should be benching people. The 49ers, of course, are amazing now with Jimmy Garoppolo, undefeated with Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'm taking the 49ers on this one. I think the 49ers, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo, can beat the Rams backups. Because think about it, the Rams played this, it was 42-39 earlier this year, and that was without Jimmy G, and that was with the Rams starters. So you add Jimmy Garoppolo, you take out the Rams starters, the 49ers should have a cakewalk in this game. Alright, next up is another interesting one. It was a really good game too. The Panthers and the Falcons. Now, the Falcons have a wild card spot to hold. They didn't clinch it, but they're in it right now. The Panthers have clinched a wild card spot. They should be benching. They've already clinched the playoffs. The Falcons, they still need to play. It only makes sense that the Falcons win this one. I'm sorry, Seahawks fans. I wanted the Seahawks in the playoffs too, but it just makes sense that the Falcons win this one. I want to take the Panthers here, but if the Panthers don't, for whatever reason, bench their people, I think the Panthers could win this one, but I feel like the Panthers are gonna bench their people, so I'm gonna go with the Falcons. This is very strange and weird and hard to pick these games with all this benching going on. I don't like this predicting week. It's very weird. What a way to end it too. Why last week was really the grand finale week. This week's just a weird extra one. But yeah, I think the Falcons are gonna. Alright, next up, the Chiefs and the Broncos. The Chiefs are benching their people because I saw Patrick Mahomes, something like that. He's starting, the rookie quarterback for the Chiefs, behind Alex Smith. And I'm going to take the Chiefs on this. I'm going to say he's going to do something special, and he's going to beat the Broncos at full force. The Broncos do still have a pretty good defense, but they've just been horrible this year. The Chiefs, I'm going with the Chiefs backups beat the Broncos. I know that could be arguably a bold prediction, but the Broncos have been doing nothing this year. When they do something, it's a one-time thing. It's a fluke. So yeah, I'm gonna say Patrick Mahomes does something wonderful for the Chiefs and win the game against the Broncos. Alright, the final game is the Saints and the Buccaneers. Buccaneers. The Saints clinched the playoffs. The Buccaneers are the worst team in the NFC South. They should start the people. The Saints probably will bench. This is hard. I was gonna take the Saints because I feel like they would just beat the Buccaneers. But at the same time, if they bench everybody, I don't know how good their backups are. And then the Buccaneers, the Buccaneers are whack, but I don't think they're like that whack to lose the backup. So I'm gonna make a last-minute switch and take the Buccaneers here. Maybe I could be horribly wrong here. This could be a rough week for predictions, but as long as we can get through it, and then we can predict the playoffs, and this whole thing is over. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers at full force, beating the Saints backups. It just makes sense. And yeah, well, like I said, I'm not sure, or maybe I didn't even say, I'm not sure, I'm just, speculating here for, like, benching of starters and, like, playing for something, playing full force, so that's the whole point of a prediction. Like, it's, like, not really factual, it's just something to go off of, so, yeah, I could be getting a lot of these wrong. This is an interesting week, but, yeah. That's my predictions for this week with all those playoff circumstances and benching and whatnot. Yeah, those are the picks I have. Let's run through them real quick. We have the Lions beating the Packers, the Bears beating the Vikings backups, the Texans beating the Colts, the Steelers beating the Browns, the Patriots beating the Jets, the Redskins beating the Giants, the Cowboys beating the Eagles, the Titans beating the Jaguars, the Bills beating the Dolphins, the Bengals beating the Ravens. I just clicked on something and my list of the games just went away. I'm sorry, hold on. The Chargers beating the Raiders, the Seahawks beating the Cardinals, the 49ers beating the Rams, the Falcons beating the Panthers, the Chiefs beating the Broncos, and the Buccaneers beating the Saints. And wow, that was just really awkward to say some of those, because some of those, like, without because people are getting benched, like, people are beating teams that they have no business beating and should not beat at all. It's very weird. It seems like I'm picking a ton of upsets, but really, like, I'm just, like, thinking ahead, and it's smart. So yeah, that's it. I'm not sure how that's gonna go about, but those are my predictions for week 17, the final regular season week of 2017. So this is my final regular season prediction video. If you want to know how I did for the week 17 predictions, make sure you watch my playoff prediction video, because beforehand, like I did with week 16, I'm going to recap week 17. So yeah, usually, like for week 15, I recapped week 15 in the week 16 predictions. So this week I recapped week 16. So my next video about like NFL I'm predicting is going to be predicting the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So I'll recap week 17 and I'll give my final record and my final overall. And like I said, I missed out on week 1, so it's a little bit lower than everyone else's, but really it shouldn't be because there's no really way I could have predicted unless I cheated. So yeah, I have one last chance to go 16-0. Probably won't with all those weird circumstances. So yeah, 14-2 is probably gonna be my best record. But hey, you never know. Maybe I'll do really good. You never know. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my playoff prediction video, and then after that, I'll make a playoff Super Bowl recap of the outcome, and then I'll be done with NFL predictions till next season, which is a long time away and kind of sad. But hey, it was a good year. So yeah, Thank you guys for watching. Like or dislike, subscribe or don't subscribe. You know, it's always up to you, and I'll see you guys in the next video you watch of me. Goodbye.